There is a whole world of cinema waiting to be discovered. You just have to overcome that 1-inch barrier known as subtitles. This is That 1-Inch Barrier, a cinema podcast dedicated to movies from all around the world. My name is Kieran Griffiths, joined by the man I call Dad and the man I call Daddy, Nicola Barrow, Josh Barry.
You pick. You pick.
Leave that up to you to decide which one is which.
I think Josh prefers Zaddy, actually. I think that's the proper term these days.
Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Good.
Good if I don't spill my water everywhere, yeah.
We
After
just
that
come
comment.
to Josh's house, we make a mess.
Zaddy.
That's right. Just throw water everywhere.
Yeah.
Doing well. Excited to talk about today's film, the most recent Best
winner.
International Feature Oscar winner. So watching lots of movies as per.
Yeah.
Follow us all on Letterboxd. Find out what we've been watching. Some good, some bad. We've had very great discussion the last half an hour setting up about the most recent stuff that's come out. So
Yeah.
And this is a fairly recent release. It's probably
Yeah.
one of the most recent releases we've kind of covered on the show.
Yeah,
So
like Zone of
20,
Interest would be
2024
before this, and
film.
it was the other
Yeah,
Oscar winner,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So this is the most recent winner of Best... What is the actual title?
Best International Feature now, yeah.
At the Academy Awards, and it is the 2024 Brazilian film I'm Still Here from director Walter Salles. So I caught this one at cinemas
Yes.
towards the back end of last year or the start of this year.
Yes,
I wanna
think
say.
I think it got a cinema release here early this year.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Not had a rewatch of it, but mostly because A, I'm a very busy man.
Yes, yeah.
And B, just because it stuck with me.
Oh,
For-
very
for-
much
for
so.
that amount of time
Very
that I
much
didn't
so.
feel that I needed to revisit it. It's a pretty harrowing film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll say that straight off the bat.
Yeah.
It isn't until it is.
Yeah.
It's actually quite lovely, and you're like, oh, this is a beautiful family film. Oh,
It's like, where does this go? Oh,
this is where we are
okay.
in time. Yeah.
So it's a pretty heavy film, but I mean, it's obviously very critically acclaimed. It won the Oscar, and I think pretty unanimously.
Yes.
I don't think it was really sort of a
Well, it almost
controversial pick.
it almost came out of nowhere. Well, yeah, they had
For a
some
little
tough
while, it was
competition
gonna-
there.
Well, that was the other film that was kind of touted as a possibility, right?
Yeah.
Because it was also
Well,
nominated
yeah.
for Best Picture. So
Yeah,
this,
that's right.
I'm Still Here and Emilia Perez were both
doing
nominated
that
for Best
Parasite
Picture.
sort of thing. Yeah.
And generally, sorry to the other 3 films nominated for Best Foreign Film.
Yeah.
But if 2 of your competitors are nominated for Best Picture,
Yeah,
You kind of,
you're probably not in the running.
I do remember, I'm not as big in like awards season, like I don't follow it as closely, but I do recall that the Oscar nomination for Fernanda Torres, who plays the lead actress in this film, when she was nominated for a Golden Globe, it seemingly came out of nowhere. And then that's when a lot of the I'm Still Here rhetoric began.
Yeah.
As everyone goes, oh, this might be a huge Oscar
Yeah.
play. Apparently there's a very passionate contingent in Brazil of film lovers.
South Americans in general, it's Argentinians and Brazilians.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's sports or movies
Yeah.
or anything. They just love shit that's from their country.
Yeah.
It's like-
well, if it's as good as this as well, you kind of go,
Yeah, but I mean, like, obviously, like, football is the cliche
Sure,
one, right?
sure.
Like, they love their football. But I mean, Josh and I both have one fans, Franco Colapinto, who's a Argentinian driver, has just rejoined Formula One.
right.
And like the upswell of support for him.
Him
just-
and Brad Pitt, yeah.
him and Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
has been like insane because they're just super passionate. So they just
Yeah.
get behind anything that's to do with their countries, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And since the Academy sort of expanded their group, or the Academy sort of became more diverse and in more countries as well, we have seen more. It's not just the Americans picking what they think is the best international film. We are seeing campaigning happening in the home countries of these movies. And yeah, I think I'm Still Here had a very, rightfully so, very passionate contingent, especially because it's a film about their history.
Yeah.
Very much deeply seated in recent, like you could call it modern history, basically. So
I saw the far right started protesting against the movie and trying to get it banned.
find something not to
I
protest.
I wonder why.
But then it became like the biggest
But-
Brazilian film.
Yeah, since
stock.
COVID, right? Yeah.
So obviously, like that helped it on
Yeah.
the way. Like, yeah.
The synopsis of the film is a woman married to a former politician during the military dictatorship in Brazil is forced to reinvent herself and chart a new course for her family after a violent and arbitrary act.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's a period piece. It's set in the 1970s, sort of in a time of much political upheaval.
Yep.
In Brazil and unrest,
Military coups
dictatorships
and
and,
whatnot,
things like that, which seems to be a sort of common theme in some of the films we've watched. I feel like this is actually kind of the culmination of a few different films
Yes.
that we've watched. It feels a bit like Roma.
Yep.
It feels a bit like Amoros Perros and Etu Mama Tambien in ways. It feels a little bit like Coveted.
A lot of this sort of South American sort of,
but even like 4 months, 3 weeks, 2 days, kind of that like oppressive, government regime.
in that similar time period too, right? When, everyone wanted to be a dictator, right? It was the hot thing to be. So, it's interesting.
I mean, some might say it's come back in vogue.
Well,
yeah. What do they say about history and repeating itself?
But yeah, I mean, it really strikes a chord because I think we've really connected with a lot of these films that show us a very specific time and a specific place, and talk about a country's history in a very, in a way that just goes, this is how it was. People lived through this.
There's definitely thematic similarities to all those movies you brought up as well, but I think being from these different countries, there is this unique flair of aesthetic. There's a unique flair of culture that pops through in these films. I think I'm Still Here does it incredibly well in the first half. I think you're very enamored by this family and you're really brought in by the family unit, and despite the life that they have to live in this oppressive state, you feel this genuine, authentic love in the family. I was suckered in by this family and the family unit, and I was like, this is so beautiful. It's like nothing terrible could ever happen. And then obviously when it does, it's awful, and it becomes this incredible story of this amazing woman. But I think the way Walter Salles captures the fleeting optimism of this time that was still held by certain people, I think is very much what makes it sort of unique. Whereas I find other movies like Amoros Perros is very angry at that time. Roma, while still being beautiful, is still kind of angry at that. Whereas Walter starts the film and he's like, no, we had optimism. There was still hope that we would get, and it was found in the family unit. I think that's quite incredible. I think it's very good writing, and I think it's very good directing.
Yeah. I think this is one of the most believable family units that I've seen
big time
in a film.
Yeah.
Like if you told me that these were, a real married couple with their real children interacting, I would have believed that. Because the way that they interact with one another is so authentic and so genuine, and you really, as you said, Nick, like you do feel that emotional connection to them because they seem to have that emotional connection with each other. Yeah, totally. Which makes it all the more heartbreaking when we sort of get to the end of the first act, and then tragedy befalls the family. So I mean, it's not much of a spoiler. It's kind of the main, I guess, plot of the film.
Yeah.
So it's 1970. We are in Brazil. We see this family who are sort of living this amazing, loving life together, hanging out with friends at the beach and having dinner together, and it's beautiful. We find out that Rubens, the father, is a former politician after the 1964 coup d'etat in Brazil when the military took over. And it became a dictatorship. He left, obviously, his government role and then returned to sort of civilian life. And then basically, the new military regime come along, take him away for questioning, and that's the last we see of him.
Yeah, I want to talk about that scene in particular because when the film opens with conversations about sort of the political alignings and what he's still doing as, even though he is a civilian now, sort of his support of certain political views that obviously don't align with this military dictatorship. And you get sprinkles of it throughout the film, and you see sort of how, there's points where the younger or like the teenage members of the family are out with friends and they get stopped at a traffic stop and stuff, and you see the oppressive regime. But you're fully aware that Rubens is completely against it, and he's still supporting people who are trying to take action, but quietly. He's very, because obviously he knows phone calls and stuff, and because obviously, I don't think the military would react quite well if they found out. But the scene where they come to the house, and it seems very passive at first, like they're just, we just want to talk. The kids start going like, oh, why are they here? And he's like, well, we're just going to talk. When they take him to the car, and that final shot where Rubens and I can't remember Fernando Torres' character's name.
Eunice.
When they look at each other for the last time is one of the most harrowing shots I've ever seen in a film. It is so impactful, and he's just in the car and driven away. And it's just like, fuck. That's, like I said, it's the turning point. It happens like 45 minutes into the film. Yeah. But it is like the inciting incident. Yeah. And it's just, you immediately feel the ripple in this family. And it's just so well shot. It's so there's like, I don't recall there being any music to it as well. You're kind of just basking in that sort of atmospheric sound. It's just brutal without, if you think of it in a Hollywood sense, military kicking down the door. You're coming with us. You're a fucking enemy of the state. Blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, no, it's just this passive sort of, we just want to talk to you.
Yeah.
And then they know, Eunice and Rubens know. They just look at each other. It's like, that could have been the last time I see that person.
Yeah, there's that knowing in each other's eyes and each other's faces.
Brutal.
Going,
So
like,
brutal.
This is it. Like you've been made.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like you said, it's so innocuous at first, but then you sort of the sinister element of it kicks in.
Yeah.
And, you know, one of the guys from the, you know, the party that have come to take Rubens away stays at the house with Eunice and the family to sort of keep an eye on them.
Yeah,
and just sort of like sits there watching them, and it's
just to see what happens. Oh, jeez, yeah. Far out. It's so well done. It's so tense and it's so uncomfortable, but it's without that sort of, it just felt, again, similar to the family dynamic. It just felt real. It felt very authentic. It felt, you know.
Yeah.
And then obviously what occurs after that, and what happens, and then what happens to Eunice after that as well is awful. Like, raw. That's where we see a bit more of the physical brutality.
Yes, yeah.
Because she obviously finds, it's hard to like not dance around it, but then Rubens is killed by these people, like he's tortured and killed. And the way she finds out about that, while she's also being held for interrogation, is awful. Like,
along with her daughter.
Along with her daughter, that's the oldest daughter,
And, you know, like at the start, before all this sort of kicks off, you know, some sort of family friends are there say, we're going to England.
Leaving,
Like, we're fleeing the country because we know what's coming.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, no, it's not that bad. Like, you know, I'm sure it'll sort of blow over. We'll stay. And you just think, like, there's almost like, it's kind of like, do you stay and fight? You know, and
because
fight.
that's what Rubens was doing.
And fight for a better life for yourself, for your children, for everyone in your community, or do you get out because you know where this is headed? You know, it's like, and if we all just flee, then we all just sort of accept that this is okay.
This has happened,
and that we can't do anything about it.
But like, funnily enough, talking about history repeating itself, you think about how this is only like 30 years after the, well, not even 30 years after the end of the Second World War as well, and you can see sort of, you know, the writings on the wall of these sort of military takeovers and stuff like that. I mean, obviously we're seeing it now in various parts of the world.
Well, that's it, right? It's like, you know, we're not here we're not a politics podcast, but it's we're literally watching it happen.
Well, these are political films, so
that's
you know what I mean? Like,
where people are being, you know, dragged off of the streets, pulled out of their homes, and taken away without cause by people who don't have to identify themselves, and taken to God knows where and put in what are basically concentration camps. It's, you know, call it whatever you want.
There's the striking similarities.
Alligator Alcatraz, more like alligator Auschwitz.
But it's true. You know what I mean? Like, and the difference is, whereas Walter Salles has to make a film called I'm Still Here and get Academy acclaim for it to be noticed, I mean, this is just all over social media now. We're seeing it play out in real time.
Are we going to be watching a film like this? And I said this after Coveted, right? I'm like, watching a film in 30 years' time about Israel and Palestine. Are we going to be watching a film in 30 years about, you know, ICE agents in the US? You know, taking illegal immigrants.
I think people are a lot more on the button now. If we have to wait 30 years, I'd be shocked, to be honest, right? Like,
that's if America's still allowed to make films.
And a movie that may one day end up on the podcast, Seed of the Sacred Fig, does that as well. In that sense, and it's very much that modern take on it as well, where there's a big storyline pretty much about doom scrolling, which is, you know, the teenagers watching what's happening in their country play out on their screens. You know what I mean? Like, so it's very much so. They didn't have that in the 1970s. No. It was far more oppressive. It was far more, you know. I think it's almost easier to be a rebellion these days than it was back then. So when it comes back to that point of like, do you leave or do you stay and help? All you have is from what's happened in the past when there's been mass exterminations of peoples and stuff. It's it's hard.
Everyone's
to watch.
Watching now. You know, there's eyes and ears everywhere.
Don't let us deter from watching this film in that sense. Like, this is not an easy film to watch, but because it's done so well, it's very captivating.
It's probably not as heavy as some of the films we talked about, like Coveted either. Where that is just sort of 2 hours of unrelenting brutality and depression.
That's more about the situation, whereas this is definitely about a woman. This is about a singular person within there's definitely the overtones of what is happening in Brazil at this time, but it is very much about Eunice. It's her story, and while there are uncomfortable things that happen, she is the driving force. So you immediately already attach to her as a character and sort of the development and the strength she has to show. What an incredible, performance, incredible woman. Like, it's No wonder Brazil were losing their shit about her. Like, campaigning for
Yeah,
it. Like
it's phenomenal.
incredible.
It is her film, right?
Very
It's
much.
her journey to find out what actually happened to her husband and get justice for what has happened.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the bulk of the film. And I mean, it's amazing as well to see a film where a middle-aged woman is the hero of the story.
Yeah.
Like, that's so refreshing.
Yeah.
Because I feel...
Take notes, Hollywood.
Right. I know it gets talked about a lot, but it's like, it's so nice. It's just not just like, straight white man in his 30s or whatever, 40s or 50s, 60s if you're watching F1 and it's Brad Pitt.
Any Jason Statham film where he's fighting a sex trafficking ring is the Hollywood equivalent of this film, right? Like,
someone was telling me about a straight to DVD, like Jason Statham-esque film.
Yeah.
Where he was like, but it was like The Bricklayer. And it was just like,
that's hilarious. It's probably there.
It's a bricky.
Oh no, there's actually one. No, there was one called The Bricklayer. It's Aaron Eckhart. Yes, it's like it's a real film.
Yeah.
No, he's just again,
and he just seemingly like in random fights will just like pull a brick out of somewhere. And
love
like,
it.
Brick someone with it.
Fucking love it.
What the fuck, man?
Shit, man. If that was in
what happened to Aaron Eckhart? Like,
you either die a hero, live long enough to see yourself become the villain, I guess, right?
See yourself go straight to DVD.
Straight to DVD.
But yeah, it's really, really refreshing to see, an older woman taking center stage and kind of leading a film, and she's super powerful in this, and you just feel so much for her.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you feel so much for the characters in this film. And I mean, maybe I'm incredibly ignorant. I mean, I am, let's be real. But I didn't realize until the end of this film that it's a true story.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I didn't know that going in. Yeah.
I knew nothing about it. I went in blind and I thought, wow, like I knew that obviously this was a real time period.
Sure. Yeah.
And this probably happened to people in the same way as something like 4 months, 3 weeks, 2 days.
Right.
It's not a true story, but based on anecdotes from the director's life. And I thought this was a similar story.
Sure.
And then when it gets to the end,
and
it gets to sort of the postscript, I was like, oh shit. And that's when I started tearing up.
Yeah, of course.
Like, I was obviously emotional throughout, but when I realized this happened to actual people, and this is their story, I was like, oh no, like,
it's
here we go.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think it just, even if you go in knowing or not, I'm sure you would have felt this at that end.
Yeah.
The absolute bravery, courage, and strength of Eunice as a person is just tenfold. It just increases tenfold. Like, she's just
and that's it. And like, she like this woman who knows what's happened to her husband and could happen to her, to happen to her children, happen to the rest of her family, but she's still putting herself in danger to do the right thing. It's so moving. It's so powerful, and I think Walter Salles does it in a way that doesn't feel melodramatic.
Yes,
it feels so earnest and so profound, and it's just really, really affecting. And I think Fernando Torres's performance is so at the heart of that.
And then the incredible stunt casting of Fernando Montenegro, who plays Eunice later in life, who is Fernando Torres' mother in real life.
Oh,
so
that's really nice.
Yeah, Fernando Torres found it funny when she heard someone say after an international screening that the makeup team did an incredible job aging her for the final sequence. That person obviously didn't know that it was her mum.
That's great.
That played the elderly Eunice. She stated she was flattered by the confusion, as the two look very much alike. They did. I actually was. I was like, going, is that makeup? I'm like, no.
I didn't know until finding that out. I was like, wow, that's incredible.
I thought this was really interesting as well. Fernando Torres said that the director cut out all of her crying scenes from the film. The daughter of Eunice said that her mother never cried in front of her family and was very restrained, just as she is portrayed in the film.
Jesus. Yeah, that's it, because we don't get any sort of, from memory, we don't get any of those kind of like big Hollywood emotional
the
moments.
Breakdown, that everything's caught up with her and she's like, I just need to.
But you'll see scenes of her sort of after the breakdown. Like the breakdown is implied, and you'll see her with her red eyes and tear-stained cheeks, and she'll come out and she'll be that support for her family.
Yes, of course,
and again, it just sort of speaks to the power of the character, and again, Walter Salles' direction, because again, it would be so easy to kind of make it cheap and pull on those emotional strings. But he kind of goes, here is the story.
And obviously, he filmed it.
Yeah.
But then decided to cut that out.
That's awesome as a filmmaker as well, being like willing to fuck with your own little vision of the film to make it feel more authentic. And real.
I don't think people realize how much of a movie actually gets shot versus how much is shown in the
yeah.
You know, it's like when people with again, talking about the recent F1 release.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's Simone Ashley?
Simone Ashley. There's a whole character that was cut out of the film.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think she was supposed to be sort of like a romantic interest for
Damson Idris's character.
Okay.
And then she basically saw the final film and went, I'm not in it.
I mean, and this is nothing against Simone Ashley. No. I've spoken about this already, but that movie didn't need to be longer.
No, it did not. No.
It's already 2 hours and 40 minutes long. Like, it didn't need to be longer.
Yeah. But again, like Thin Red Line, the Terrence Malick film.
Yeah. It was initially
Adrian
like
Brody was meant to be the main character of that.
And then it's completely
watched it and he's got 2 scenes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And like big actors, I think like George Clooney's in it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Huge actor at the time, has like 2 lines. It's basically a cameo.
Isn't Kevin? Yeah. There was Kevin Kline's first movie, The Big Chill. He's supposed to be. He's the dead body at the beginning of the film, and he's supposed to have a whole story arc, and he's literally then just the dead body at the beginning of the film. Like, it's just incredible. But sometimes it works in service for the film, and like, you know, I don't think we would have ever. Whether it would have come up that we've gone, her crying scenes are incredible, but if it's more authentic too.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And that's if it's as you said, authentic to the character.
Yeah.
You know, if your niece's real life daughter has said, I don't remember my mum having the breakdowns and crying in front of us, then you're not going to show that.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think you necessarily need to show it in private, because what do you gain from it?
No.
You know, that shows Eunice at her lowest point. What we need to see and what Walter Salles wants us to see is her at her, you know, strongest points.
Yeah.
That she's come out, she's obviously had that, you know.
Well, because it's an inspirational story.
Yeah.
And not showing her crying doesn't make it less inspirational, doesn't make it less human. It just means, you know, it doubles down on the strength of the character, I think.
Yeah.
I'm just looking now. This was the first Walter Salles directed film I've ever seen. So he's a producer on City of God, which I was always assumed he was maybe, I either wrote it or something. But Josh has got The Motorcycle Diaries behind us. So this was not your first venture into Walter Salles' filmography?
No, I think The Motorcycle Diaries would have been my first one.
Yeah.
Because I was just...
He also did Central Station as well,
I've not seen that.
I know.
No, neither have I.
Very critically acclaimed.
Okay.
He did he do... I thought I heard that he'd done Dark Water.
He did.
He did?
Yeah. Right after The Motorcycle Diaries.
One?
No. This is a...
Oh, it's not? Okay.
No, Dark Water. There's 2 Dark Waters.
Okay,
Dark Water, this one is a horror.
Oh, okay.
From 2005.
Yeah, okay.
But no, he did a segment on Paris Je t'aime, or Paris I Love You. And he did On the Road with Kristen Stewart and Sam Riley and Garrett Hedlund, which is based on the Jack Kerouac novel.
Okay. Yeah.
Which I think I've seen bits of. But
yeah, I've only seen Motorcycle Diaries.
Okay. Yeah. And how, like, just directorial comparison. Similar vibes, similar.
No, not similar. It's more of, I would say, more of like a road movie.
With Gael Garcia Bernal, right?
Yeah. That's, I was on that.
But when you look at it, you look at something and he was like producer on City of God, and you look at the sort of, you know, it's interesting looking at how City of God, again, while being a film that is so responsively angry to the situation in which is taking place, there is still that optimism in the characters. So I think Walter Salles has this very unique outlook on certain things and events that have happened.
Yeah. Because Motorcycle Diaries is based on, a true and a guy's diaries of...
I need to watch it.
Yeah, it's a really...
It's always been one of those movies. Yeah. Oh, by Che Guevara. Motorcycle, there we go. Yeah. Okay. Well, shit, there we go.
Yeah. It's really good.
Okay. Yeah. Adding it to the list, because I think this film is fantastic. I think it's great. Yeah. Pacing, there, not to get too like technical with it, but no, this is what we're here to do. There are moments in that second and third act where I do think the pacing is a little bit all up and down.
Yeah.
I felt the length after
the
inciting incident of Rubens being taken away. So
I don't know if I was a bit tired or
repetitive. Maybe might be the right word as well. Like, I know it probably, again, going to the authenticity of it, that was probably her life, and we get. But I think from a film point of view, there were some times where I was like, oh, I know this. I felt this emotion already, and I know we're, beating the dead horse of that's what her life was like. But they're probably just from and entertainment value is probably the wrong word, but just from like on the technical level of how a film is structured, I guess there was probably like maybe a good 15, 20 minutes that I was like, we could speed this up a little bit. Maybe I was just exhausted emotionally from the film itself. But
yeah, I mean, it's 138 minutes, which is definitely on the longer side.
And you can feel it.
I think you could probably shave 10, 15 and just tighten up a few sections. Especially because it does have 2 scenes at the end. One set in 1996.
Yeah.
So 25 years after sort of the main bulk of the film.
Yeah.
And then another scene right at the end set in 2014. Just kind of showing where the characters are up to. Some kind of key milestones in their actual lives.
Yes.
Right? So I think if you're going to have those, probably need to tighten up some of those earlier sections a little bit. Some people have, I know, sort of said that it doesn't need those bits, but I quite liked them.
I think
because the characters were so vivid and so lived in,
you want to know.
Again, enjoy is the wrong word, but I appreciated spending time with them.
And sometimes the text isn't enough for those things. Like, I think text is great for the informative sort of like, this is what happened, blah, blah, blah. But I think you get a bit more emotional resonance out of just seeing where Eunice is at that point in her life. So
I think, like, we look at, again, we keep coming back to it, Coveted. The scene where she sat in the hall at the school.
Yeah.
And she can see one of the guys who was on the other side of the fence. And he's just sitting there with his family, smiling and laughing, and that's so much more impactful than text that goes.
Yeah, for sure.
And all of the people who committed genocide got away with it.
Exactly.
Like to see
it's a great artistic
live
decision.
That life with the people.
The assimilation of.
And in the same way that seeing those moments in Eunice's life where she got the I guess some of the justice she wanted and some of the clarity and closure that she wanted. Is so much more impactful than having that postscript.
For sure.
I think the postscript's generally good for like a broader of what
when did the coup end and
but for that personally you just spent 2 hours with these people and this person and
I think most of the pacing stuff happens before the pacing issues that happen before those scenes anyway but
you probably tying up maybe that first 30, 45 a little bit, and then probably that sort of middle half an hour tying that up a little bit. I think you get a much sharper film, but it's a minor gripe.
Absolutely. And I think most audiences would probably, when you're going into this, that first 40 minutes, go like, when is something going to happen? But it's all intentional to really get you invested in this family. For sure. But I'm excited to watch more of Walter Salles' work. I think, and I definitely think they got it right with the Academy Award for sure. Like this is.
Well, I know we were all
still
very
haven't
happy.
seen Emilia Perez.
We were all very happy that we didn't have to watch Emilia Perez.
The day
would have been a fun episode at least.
I mean, probably actually it would be a fun episode.
The fucking day we go, let the audience decide what we watch next. All of you fuckers will pick Emilia Perez. 100%. You're going to torture us. It would be free. We'd have to do a drunk episode. That's the only way I'd do it.
I mean, in line with how it was clearly made.
Vagina
while
to
everyone was
penis,
off their face.
or penis to vagina. Like, that's the peak of cinema, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
Hugely critically acclaimed, obviously, other than the Oscar. Friend of the show, Alfonso Cuarón.
Oh, yes.
Named it as one of his favorite films of 2024.
Yeah.
Right.
Said that watching a Walter Salles film is to be embraced in generosity, is like experiencing a gravitational pull, both lifting and grounding us at the same time with an invisible yet undeniable force.
Wow.
Which, I mean, just beautiful words.
Hard to disagree.
Yeah. And I mean, high praise from one of the...
shout out to Alfonso Cuarón, featured twice
directors
on the New York Times Best 100 Movies with Children of Men and Gravity. So, well done.
Along with such classics as Superbad and...
Hey, Superbad's fucking great.
It is
it's so good. Superbad might be, after Anchorman, the best.
Off on a tangent. I'm horrified to see some of the movies you haven't seen.
Oh, yeah.
You shouldn't see mine, then.
I shouldn't have posted it. I shouldn't have posted it because I got ripped apart for 3 or 4 days by so many
am not surprised. You need to go and watch 18 films
I did say, Josh did messages. I can't believe you haven't seen that. And I was like, who's going to watch all the Jurassic World sequels, though, if I waste my time watching Eternal Sunshine?
Oh, my Lord.
Have you seen Eternal Sunshine?
I have seen Eternal Sunshine.
I'm not a cinephile.
That's the one that but there was about 3 or 4. I'm like, I really can't believe.
It's one, though, while we're on the tangent, I
You're not a big
Me-
fan, are you? Or?
No, I am. That's the
Oh,
thing.
you are,
Loved
yeah.
Anomalisa,
Yeah, okay.
but I hadn't seen adaptation either.
Okay. You haven't seen it?
I haven't. No, and I liked.
And you're
I'm thinking
a
of
Nick
ending
Cage-
things. I'm a Nick Cage
Oh my
die
God.
hard, but they're just too. I think I need to be in a certain frame for Eternal
Yeah,
Sunshine. I have heard like you just need to be in a mood to watch it.
Yeah.
Um,
We can't pick that for the show, unfortunately.
Watch it dubbed.
what is the
yeah, what's
a guy doing a Japanese guy doing a Jim Carrey sort of
Yeah.
impersonation? But yeah,
Anyway, yeah.
And yeah, obviously, as Josh mentioned, the film was protested by the Brazilian far right, who claimed that that period of time was not a dictatorship.
Mhm.
all right.
Which,
yeah,
if
yeah.
the far right are protesting it, claiming it's not,
you kind of got
well,
it.
probably
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
But I
Little bit of a
have to-
dictatorship.
I love that then brings more,
Yeah.
prominence to the film, and
Yeah.
then it does so well. Like, it's just so ironic,
Yeah.
so funny.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, not known for their critical thinking skills, let's be real. Yeah, but just a really emotionally affecting and really powerful film, a really beautiful story in a very sad way, obviously.
Great.
Fernando Torres, gorgeous performance.
yeah.
Not unhappy with Mikey Madison winning Best Actress, but
No,
wouldn't
no.
have been disappointed with Fernando.
Oh,
Torres.
God.
So glad she got the
Yeah,
nomination. Like I
yeah.
said, when the Golden Globe came through and she was like on the radar,
Did she win the Golden Globe?
I believe so.
she
Oh,
did.
I think she did. I think that's
I
what.
think
Yeah,
she won it, and then that was
But
like the
that's
big,
sort of yeah.
It was
yeah.
like, wow, she's
She's a genuine player. But no,
Yeah.
I agree. I think Mikey Madison's fantastic in an horror.
Torres became the first Brazilian actress to win a Golden Globe
Yeah.
in an acting category.
Mm.
It was the first Brazilian film to win an Oscar
Wow,
Yeah.
as
awesome.
well.
Yeah. Oh,
Wow.
I mean, deservedly so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just going to quickly pull up the what do we call it? The Best Actress nominee.
Oh, from that.
just so we can see.
And so yeah,
sort of
Mikey
where she-
won.
where she
Demi
lands
Moore.
in that.
Demi Moore.
Demi Moore, who was
Substance.
who was kind of the fan pick,
fan,
and,
yeah.
And she was
I
great.
thought they would go the legacy pick, right? I thought it would
Yeah,
be
me
the
too.
Jamie Lee
I did
Curtis
as well.
thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
hey, maybe you weren't the best performance this year,
But we love you.
But it was
you-
a great
Everyone,
one, and
everyone
yeah.
loved
And you
everywhere,
can do it all the time.
everything, everywhere, all at once as well. Like that was just the sweet movie of
Yeah.
that year. Yeah.
But the Academy do it, right? It's like Pacino winning for Scent of a Woman,
right. Yeah.
It's like, is that Pacino's best? No,
No.
but it's here you go.
Yes,
It's the same
yeah,
way
yeah.
I think that Chris Nolan got so much for Oppenheimer.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
It's not his best film.
Leo for the
It's a good
Revenant.
film. Leo for the
Revenant.
Revenant.
For the Revenant, yeah.
And
Should've
I
won for
love the
Wolf of Wall
Revenant. I love Leo in
Yeah,
the Revenant.
for sure.
It's not his best performance.
No.
He should have won before then, and they
For
just went,
Wolf of Wall Street. Yeah.
here you go.
Yeah.
So they do it.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for Finch's.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't think we all see one now. He's got that Netflix money for the rest of his
Yeah,
life. So
yeah.
unless they bring out that Cliff Booth film in cinemas for like 2 weeks or something,
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
and
But he's got to make his fucking Squid Game remake first. So
I was hoping Ed Norton was going to get his for Complete
I
Unknown.
was-
There's a man that deserves
He does.
deserves an Oscar.
Yeah.
But yes, 2024 Best Actress. We had Mikey Madison for Anora, who won.
yeah,
Cynthia Erivo for Wicked.
that's right.
Carla Sofia Gascon for Amelia Perez.
Yeah.
Demi Moore for The Substance, and Fernando Torres for
Right.
I'm Still Here.
I think Mikey definitely the winner there. Demi was my favorite because obviously Substance was my favorite film, but Fernando Torres getting the nominations,
Yeah,
great.
for
And Cynthia Erivo is really good in Wicked too.
She
like
is
I don't think
great.
and I haven't seen Amelia Perez, so I can't
So
say. much about
you'd
Carla.
have gone Anora? You'd have gone
yeah,
Mikey
yeah,
Madison?
out of those five,
Josh?
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that was.
I probably couldn't split them. Two very different performances.
Oh yeah, man.
Loved Anora. Loved Mikey Madison in that. Yeah,
It's tough, yeah.
yeah, two very very different roles, but for me the two clear front.
Oh,
runners.
big time, yeah, for sure, for
And
sure.
then best international feature. What was nominated alongside those two?
I think
So Amelia
Flo
Perez
was
again.
as-
I think Flo was as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one best animated,
Yeah.
feature?
But it was also in the best feature. Yeah.
Is there even any
There's no dialogue,
Dialogue?
but because it was all
but
made
it's
in
foreign
yeah,
produced?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I suppose you don't need to have.
Dialogue.
It was the
Dialogue,
same with Zone of Interest. It's actually an English production, but
Yeah.
it was all in German, obviously. Yeah,
Yeah, because it was Jonathan Glazer is a
Yeah.
British director,
market, yeah.
which is weird.
Mm.
yeah,
Mm.
Like directing in a language that you don't.
It's crazy.
yeah. I think it's cool though. I think it's
Yeah.
very
What else was nominated that year?
Trusting the translators.
Yeah, I always think about that.
Yeah,
I
I
do think
do,
about
I do.
that. It's like, yeah, he's actually saying the line, and it's just some of the most like heinous, offensive shit.
Yeah.
But only one country.
Amelia Perez, All We Imagine Is Light
Oh yeah.
from India, The Girl with the Needle from Denmark,
Okay, I haven't
Yeah,
seen
that
that.
was
I'm Still Here from Brazil, The Seed of the Sacred Fig from
Oh.
Germany,
Yep. Also,
And-
Flo wasn't nominated.
No.
No,
And
okay.
Vermiglio, it's
Yeah.
Italian. That's 6 nominees.
Oh,
Oh, they
I
do.
thought Flo was. Oh, gosh.
Seed of the Sacred. Have you seen Seed of the Sacred Fig?
I haven't, no. But it sounds like there's like 3 heavy films.
That's a heavy movie, and that one's almost 3 hours
Yeah,
long. So
yeah.
yeah, but that's a very
Yeah.
similar sort of film. Yeah.
Well, looks
Sounds
like they
so, yeah.
started doing 6 nominees for
Ah.
Best International, because last year had 6 as well, or 2023 rather,
Yeah.
had 6 as
All
well.
right.
Weird.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I think this one. Yeah, I think I'm still here. It's a tough one. Seed of the Sacred Fig, I think, very thematically similar, would be up there for me as well. I haven't seen Girl with the Needle, but I've heard depressingly good things.
Yeah, it is.
And I didn't love All We Need Is Matches Light, but I know it struck incredibly well with critics. So, yeah.
I think we don't want to say too much more about it, because I think it's a film that's best experienced
Sure.
by watching, as all films are, right? But I
Yeah,
think some of the films, it's really great to dive into the minutiae and the nitty gritty and the plot. But I think the plot is relatively fairly straightforward.
Yeah.
You know, it's this woman's journey to find out what happened to her.
It's very much
husband.
just a character story. It's a very, very much a character drama.
But I think it's a beautifully done one. I think absolutely 100% recommend going and watching it. And I don't want to say too much more, because I think the emotional resonance is really just best felt for yourself. Star rating starting with Eunice.
I went 4, but it's close to a 4.5. I think we say that every episode. Once we talk about it, it goes up. I obviously had a few issues with the pacing. But yeah, I think, just incredible performance. I think the direction captures atmosphere very well, but obviously it's nothing like, it's not very cinematic, I guess, in that sense of
There are
like,
some really beautiful shots at the start of the beach and the family.
of course. Yeah.
Very much feels like you're watching a high production value home video.
Yes.
Like you're sitting and watching a family's
Whereas-
VHS tapes from the 70s of their family holiday. Like it's,
Yeah.
in the same way that I think of like After Sun.
After Sun, yeah.
Like very similar kind of look and feel. Equally
'cause it's
emotionally devastating.
Very
Yeah,
much so.
yeah.
I think it's very much, this is like directed like fly on the wall sort of stuff as well, which works very much for the character. So
Yeah,
great
it does.
performances, great story, very inspirational. It's a solid 4-star for me. Yeah.
Josh,
I'm the same.
solid
Yeah.
4.
Yeah. I probably thought that, it's done critically really well. Obviously winning the Oscar. I probably thought I was going to be higher, but yeah, it was a 4 for me. Yeah.
Still great though.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, as you say, I would recommend it to anyone to watch.
Yeah.
Kind of almost like a must-see,
Yeah.
essential viewing piece, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if you want to sort of, I guess, feel that time and that time period and that place in a film that, even though it's not about Walter Salles in any way, it still feels really personal and intimate. I think it's, we've talked about this before. I love those films that kind of showcase what it was like to be somewhere,
Sure.
at a certain place in time.
Yeah.
And that does a really good job of this. You feel that anxiety, but you also feel the beauty in the people and the country and what they're fighting for. Right. It's 4.5 for me.
Yeah.
I think it was probably one of my favorite films from last year, from 2024. I think any film that can get you to tear up deserves a fair bit of praise.
Yeah.
To kind of evoke that really strong emotional reaction. And I as the credits rolled in the cinema and sat there in the dark and tearing up, and I was like, this has had a pretty profound impact on me. And I think, as we kind of talked about, it's become sort of more essential viewing now because of what is happening in other places around the world. To go that people were getting taken. There was misinformation and disinformation.
Yeah.
And that it's only on the backs of the people like Rubens, who fought for the betterment of his country, and then Eunice, who fought for her family and her people, that things get better. So I think it's really essential viewing in that way. So
Agreed.
4.5 for me.
And you saw it at cinema. You saw it at cinema, didn't you?
No, I had
Oh,
to
you
screen
didn't?
up. Yeah. I got a
Okay,
screen up
yeah.
for it,
Yeah, and I
Did you
saw
watch it at home? Yeah. I mean, not one of those ones that's like, wow, you need to see this at the cinema.
No, I can see how it would have been a bit more impactful, though.
Yeah, I think like there's such a beauty in watching films at the cinema. Right?
Yeah,
well, there is.
We're all purists.
Yeah.
But that
You
ability
do
to just
the
switch
immersion, the full immersion of a full black room, full surround.
Yeah.
Is definitely, and that could be that half star you're talking about easily. Like
Very much so. Yeah. True.
I mean, completely different film, but it says I've spoken with a friend of mine who thinks that Dunkirk is one of Nolan's best films, or is one of his favorite Nolan films. I watched Dunkirk at home, didn't love it that much.
I saw that 70mm.
I saw a 70mm as well.
Yeah, I was
Incredible.
like, it is one of my favorite. Yeah.
But it's like at home, does it lose a bit of its...
The sound of the Spitfire guns on 70mm.
In the same way that, again, F1.
Yeah.
Probably not going to hit the same way watching it at home.
It's definitely not.
Watching those race scenes, and I can feel my seat vibrating from the sound design. And Hans Zimmer's score is like, sticking his dick in my ear. Like,
sticking his EDM dick in the ear.
I'm like, this slaps.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can't beat the cinema experience unless you've got some fucking piece of shit talking behind you the entire film. I've had that at 2 of my most recent screenings.
People suck.
We
People wonder why I sit in random locations
We've just
in the
lost
cinema. I'm
all
avoiding
etiquette.
people. Yeah.
Since COVID, people have just forgotten how to behave in a cinema.
Yeah.
It's not a fucking social activity.
Really weird.
It is not. No.
Talk about it when you get out.
Yeah.
Or go on your own. I fucking love going to the cinema.
I love going to cinema on my own, but
Underrated activity.
that's why
it is.
people always ask why I sit where I sit in screenings and stuff. I was like, because I don't want to be near anyone.
Yeah.
Where do you sit?
Right down the front.
No. I'm
I tried a few times. I'm like,
Row A.
I've done it. Yeah, no,
close.
I've done it before. Yeah. Actually, at Sydney Film Festival, I actively sat in the first row for a screening.
I was wondering what psychopath the first 3 rows are for, and now I know.
It's me. I don't want to be near anyone.
Yeah.
Also, the screen gets bigger and bigger the closer you get to it as well. True. Everything's IMAX when you're this close.
Give me 2/3 of the way back. In the middle of the.
It's just too risky with the amount of like assigned seating previews I've been to, and people are still go on their phones, and you can even like 13 rows down to the left, and some fucker pulls out their phone. I'm like, I can see it from where I'm at. And I want to throttle you across the cinema.
Yeah.
I want to stamp on your phone.
That should be socially acceptable.
Well, yes, yeah, I agree. I think violence is the only option for those who use a phone during film. Clip that up.
That was I'm Still Here. That was our latest Oscars episode.
Yes.
I believe, obviously, because we're going to be waiting now till the next Oscars, we'll be going back again.
Yes.
We would.
Yeah, what year are we up to now?
I've lost track.
Was Parasite the last one we did?
No.
For that? Yeah, I think so. Because
we did Roma.
We did do Roma. That is very true. So
what was pre-Roma?
That was the 2019 Oscars. So the 2018 Oscars will be the next one.
Best foreign language film. Let's just have a little squeeze through. I know it's the Golden Globe. Wrong page.
Let's see if we can guess. 2018. 2018.
Before Roma.
What one before Roma? As soon as Kieran says it, we'll be like, oh, of course it was. What came out? So it would have come out in 2017. That's the other thing to think about. God, we're almost a decade away.
I've been powering through these. Winners and nominees. No, I don't need multiple wins. I just want the...
This is all great, though. I hope this all stays in.
This is super professional. What are we doing? This isn't even the right Wikipedia page.
Oh, no. That's all right. Let's have a competition. You can get there first.
A Fantastic Woman.
I haven't seen this.
So I have pretty much, I think when it came out, where is it from? Spanish.
Okay.
We haven't done many Spanish films.
No.
I feel.
Okay, that's exciting. Yeah, I haven't seen this one yet.
Overview is Marina, a transgender waitress and singer, gets involved in a romantic relationship with Orlando, an older man. However, her life changes after Orlando's unexpected death raises questions on her.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, 2017.
Oh, this director...
From Chile.
Oh, is it from Chile?
Yeah, so it's Spanish, obviously, but it's from Chile.
Okay, cool. Cool.
So staying in South
not
America,
been there
but
before,
we've not been to Chile, no.
Cool.
I've only heard of one of the films nominated that year. So you also had The Insult from Lebanon.
That is unbelievable.
Okay. Might have to be your next pick.
That could be. That one I have thought about picking.
We haven't been to Lebanon.
No.
Loveless from Russia.
Oh, yes. I know. That's on Stan. I've not seen it, but I've wanted to. It's meant to be very heavy.
The Square, which is Sweden, which is Rubens.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
and a film that we've already done on the show, On Body and Soul.
Yeah.
From Hungary.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, true. There we go.
Surely that A Square was. I would have thought that would have been the favourite that year.
Well,
I don't think Ruben
did the
was...
Square win
oh, no, because he had Force Majeure.
Palme d'Or?
It sounds like it might have. Yeah.
Because I feel like Triangle of Sadness... Because Triangle of Sadness won Palme d'Or, didn't it?
Yeah.
I feel like he was his second...
And surely Force Majeure did as well.
But yeah, so A Fantastic Woman from Chile will be our next Oscars episode.
Yep.
And then our next film that we're actually covering on the podcast, going back to our picks, is Mr. Josh Barry's pick. Josh, what are we going to be talking about next?
We are watching a film by Ali Abbasi, known for the recent Trump, Sebastian Stan, The Apprentice.
The Apprentice, yes.
But before that, he did a little Swedish film called Border.
He did. So we'll be talking about that on our next episode.
We will.
Very excited. Very excited. Let that be the tease.
So yeah, looking forward to that. That'll be our next episode. Thank you so much, as always, for watching and listening. We hope you've enjoyed this episode, and we hope that you go and watch I'm Still Here, because it is a fantastic film. All of our links can be found in the description, our social media, our Letterboxd, the podcast pages, all those sort of good things. So make sure to like, subscribe, and do all the other stuff that your algorithm tells you to do. And we'll be back next time for Border. See you then.
See ya.